that. I have sort of three packages. So the way that I structured my offerings is really to try to accommodate, three different tiers. Somebody who might want me to do kind of everything for them. I'm probably going to charge around 20.
Hey folks, you are most welcome to the Rising Being Show, and here we have an amazing speaker and marketing strategist. Her name is Katlynn Patt from USA. Hi Katlynn, you are most welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Perfect. So my audience is eagerly waiting for your introduction.
Sure. Well, I am the host of the Start Marketing podcast. My goal is to really make marketing more accessible and actionable for entrepreneurs and small business owners. I've worked in marketing for my entire career, and I'm really passionate about helping people understand how to use it to grow their businesses and kind of build their passions and pursue them.
All right. So that's interesting, and I believe that people are gonna learn a lot from here. So we have a couple of questions over here. We already have jotted down for you. And before we start this question, my audience would like to know a little story of your business that you have been doing.
Oh, sure. Any story?
Your business story that you have been into the marketing.
Okay. So I will say, and this is kind of relevant to our conversation today. I started my business and my podcast in early 2020, kind of right before COVID started. And I went in with an idea of who my target audience was going to be. And I started pursuing it, and I started marketing it, all of my business materials with a certain target audience in mind. And then I kind of, as I got more into my business, it started to change, and the types of clients that I was attracting were actually different than what I had planned on and what I was marketing toward. And so I changed my target audience again, and I updated all of my messaging and everything to go with it. And then it changed again. And so my point is, I feel like in the first kind of couple of years that you're in business, your target audience and therefore your marketing and kind of the strategies that you use tend to change a lot. I think you are really in a learning period during that time. And so you really kind of have to stay flexible and kind of adapt and look at and decide as they start to change and as you start to attract different types of clients, is this who I want to be working with? Or maybe do I need to change something on my side so that I attract the right people to me? So it's been kind of a crazy 2 years. I feel like I have a little bit of whiplash from, thinking I'm over here with this target audience, and then I'm over here, and then I'm back here. So it's all a good learning lesson. And in the end, you kind of take a lot away from it.
Perfect, perfect. So I can say over here from this in one line, if I had to say it, I would say that we got to keep on trying and testing about what we are looking for, right? So
Absolutely.
so I feel like we shall get started with the question that we have already prepared for you over here. That the first question is like, when we are into the marketing, so the first thing a beginner is trying to do is trying to figure out the target audience. So how is that we figure out as a beginner? If I am there as a beginner, I'm getting started into this industry. So how can I find my target audience?
Yeah. So if you are just starting out and you haven't made any sales yet, the biggest thing you can do, or the best thing that you can do, is to actually find maybe 10 or 15 people who you think might be your target audience. And you're going to go and prepare maybe just 4 or 5 questions that you want to ask them related to your product and your service, maybe potential pricing, what you think you want to offer. And you're going to ask 10 to 15 people, a handful of questions, and do some market research. It doesn't have to be something really big and really expensive, because most likely when you're just starting out, you don't have a really big budget or a lot of money to pay for really extensive market research, right? Through like an agency or something like that. So to ask those 10 to 15 people questions about what they are looking for when they think about your product or service, what they're willing to pay for it, what challenges they're having related to kind of your experience and the direction you think you're going to go. And really just interview and get some people who you think are your target audience to answer those questions. And one of two things is going to happen. First, they're either going to confirm that you are headed in the right direction and that your offering and the messaging around that offer is correct and that they would in fact come and be customers. Or this kind of happened to me, you're going to find out that they might be your target audience, but what you are offering and the way you are marketing your products and services does not connect, right? It doesn't make sense to them, and it doesn't help them understand and want to become paying customers of yours. So starting with that research is a really good first step. Anybody can take it. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can go and find 10 to 15 people and ask them questions about your potential product or service. If you've been in business for a little bit, maybe you've made a handful of sales, or you have been making sales online or something like that for a while, you can look at your sales data and see if there are common trends between your buyers. So this works really well if you sell like a product or a service online, right? And you have a website maybe that collects data and information for you. And you can look at that and see if there are any trends. Are there people who tend to live in a certain area that come to you, right? That might be an indication of finding your target audience, and you can kind of concentrate maybe in a certain city, for example. Or maybe they're at a certain stage in their life or their business, and that's why they're coming to you. So you can look at the sales data and see if there are any common trends that kind of give you clues to finding more people like your target audience, right? If you've been making sales, you're looking to find more people like them, and that will kind of influence how you market your business, right? It can give you ideas about where to find more customers, when to find them, the challenges that they're facing. So those kind of two things are easy steps that, again, regardless of the budget you have or where you're at in business, you can do those things and start to make better, more informed decisions about your marketing and then finding your target audience.
All right. So here is the next important question. That is, let's say the people are trying to reach out to other people. They feel like what kind of masses they should put over there, so the audience, feel like the people who are out there who are just reaching out to the other people, they have no idea how to masses to other their target audience, right? Their target client. So
Yeah.
what kind of masses they can, frame, or they can reach out to other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's kind of one of the hardest things to learn, right? As a business owner, is how you actually reach that target audience and what you say to them in order to get them to purchase from you. And marketing, I always tell people, is about it's about four main things. You want to find the right people in the right place at the right time with the right message. Okay. So when you think about how do I reach my target audience, if you're not sure what you want to do is kind of think about the journey that that person might go through in order to, that would bring them to the part where they decide they need your product or service. So think about, we call this mapping out your customer's journey. Think about what they are going through in their lives and sort of think backwards from the moment when they say yes to purchasing your product or service. What small steps do they need to take or information do they need to understand in order to get to saying yes, right? It's sort of like dating someone. If I meet you on the street, I don't ask you to marry me right away. That would be weird. There's usually, you date someone, you get to know them, you spend time deciding, is this the person that I want to marry? And so you sort of have to think about marketing the same way. I could ask you to buy my product or service right now, and I might get lucky, but most likely what needs to happen is that I actually kind of have to think through and sort of reverse engineer how somebody is going to get there. So, what problem are they having in their life that they need to solve? And what might be the first step they would take? Maybe it would just be Googling the answer to or looking for something so that maybe they can solve the problem on their own. So, can you give them a little bit of information that sort of helps them understand how they might be able to solve it on their own? And then if they can't, what might be the next step after that? And so you sort of map out this journey and think about what you need to say to them to kind of get them comfortable to move on to the next step, right? So again, using the dating analogy, if I go on a first date and I make it really awkward and maybe I don't have a really good conversation with you, or I take you to do something you don't like, you might not go out on a next date with me, right? But if I think about what would make you feel really comfortable and what might you'd enjoy, then you're going to want to see me again. And so marketing is much the same. So if I think about what information, what do I need to say to you to make you feel comfortable to move to the next step? That's how you can start to frame up that message. You want to think about how you can be the most helpful in getting that person comfortable to moving on and ultimately getting to a sale. So that's where really understanding who your target audience is. That's why it's really critical, right? Because if you don't understand your target audience, you don't really know what to say to them. And if you don't understand how they think about buying your product or service, which again, you can learn by simply talking to potential customers, if you don't understand that, you don't know how to say what you need to say to them. So starting there and making sure that you make them really comfortable and you know them really well, that's critical to kind of getting your marketing to perform well for you.
Awesome, awesome. So people got to understand the analogy that she shared about the dating analogy. You can figure out the same. You cannot go to someone and directly say that, would you like to marry? If we take that dating analogy, right? So it works the same over here as well. We got to build that rapport. We got to build that relationship first. So that's what is something super important, right? So here I have the another question. It's like uh, it was a like a similar question. Like I think we just got it done. It was like how do I reach my target audience and create the leads, right? So we have just covered it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the next question over here. It's like what should I do if my marketing is not generating the leads? This is the most you know important thing people are struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone struggles with it. Even me in my own business, there are times when I look at my marketing and I go, why isn't this working for me? Right. And I understand marketing. And so it's probably a question that I get asked the most often is what should I do if my marketing isn't generating any leads? And the first thing I'm going to do when someone asks me this question is go back to kind of the first part of our conversation. And I'm going to say, well, tell me about your target audience, right? Who are they and how much do you know about them? And this is hard in the beginning, right? Because most of the time, like we talked about, you don't necessarily have a lot of customers. You may not have any customers starting out. And so it's difficult to answer that question sometimes, but you can, like we've talked about, you can make some really informed guesses by going out and talking to those potential customers. And so if you don't feel like your marketing is working, we're going to start there. We're going to say, okay, what do we know about our target audience? Maybe we know who they are and we know the problem we're solving for them, but we picked the wrong channel, right? So going back to marketing being about the right people in the right place, next we're going to look at what channels are you using? Maybe you said that you are going to help small business owners, for example, and you've been spending a lot of your time on Instagram, but it might be that LinkedIn is a better place for you to connect with those people. So you might be saying the right things and you might have the right target audience in mind, but you're just not in the right place. You're not finding them where they're looking for you. So kind of looking at what do we know about our target audience? What is true? Where do they spend their time? And maybe that's where I need to be spending my time. And I'm just not in the right place. The other thing that it might be is that you're not necessarily saying the right thing. So going back to having the right message. And that's why understanding, who is my target audience and what is the journey they go on in order to say yes to purchasing my product and service. That's why understanding those things is really important, because when you're not generating leads, it's usually because you're either not talking to the right people or you're not finding them in the right spot. And so you kind of just go through that checklist of, am I talking to the right people? Yes. Okay. If I'm talking to the right people, am I talking to them in the right way? Do I have the right message? If it's not that, it might be that you're in the wrong place. Or it just might be, and this is something that you only sort of learn over time as you get more experience. People purchase from you when it's the right time for them, right? It's not something that they're going to, if the timing isn't right, they're not going to just be like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'll buy this and I'll just,
Exactly.
let it sit. Yeah, yeah. So it might just be that it's not the right time for them yet. It might be that your sales cycle is a little bit longer of a sales cycle, right? That's something I had to learn as a marketing person. People take a long time to decide whether or not they want help from a marketer and if they want to hire you. The opposite might be true if I sell a product. Maybe I sell some, you know, custom designed earrings, for example, right? That could be like an impulse buy. I don't necessarily need a long time to think about whether I want a pair of earrings. I'm going to look at them in the store or I'm going to look at them online and I'm going to go yes or no. So it really kind of depends too on what your product or offering is how much time does someone need to make a decision? If it's a service, they probably need a little bit longer. And so it's about staying consistent and being there constantly, consistently posting on social media, consistently putting ads out if that's something you like to do. So when the time is right, they decide and they know that you are there and waiting for them. If you have a product, then it might be something that, people can decide on really quick. And it's likely if you're not getting leads, then it's likely because you don't necessarily have your messaging or your target audience nailed
All
down.
right. So that's pretty interesting. And here we have the one more question. It's like, how do I make sure that my social media content generates the leads? This is also super
Yeah.
important over here.
It is. Social media, I feel like is probably one of the hardest ways to grow your business if you're going to do it organically. It doesn't mean that it can't be done. You just have to kind of be prepared to really spend a lot of time creating good content so that your target audience sees you. It's difficult because, Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're using, TikTok, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're using, there is an algorithm on the other side that looks at, are you following enough rules? Are you doing enough on our platform? And do we like what you're doing? And if we do, then we'll show your posts to your target audience. So if you are building your business on social media, the thing that you want to be super clear about, again, is making sure you're on the right channel. That's going to be really important. It's hard to have a social media presence on a lot of channels, right? Because you have to spend a lot of time making content. So I would say pick one and kind of focus your time and effort there. And then make sure that you really understand, this is kind of tying in everything that we've been talking about. Understand what their journey is, and then think about, what content do I need to create in order to help them decide to move to the next step. So, if I have to create awareness, make sure that I have some content that just generally tells people what I do and what products or services I offer. And
Awesome.
then,
Right. So actually over here is that we have to build that social media presence over there, right? We got to educate people what we are all about, what we are teaching, what we are offering. We got to add that value first, and that's how the leads are being generated from your social media, right?
yeah.
I believe this is the way that you are also following.
Yes. Yep. You
Right?
got it.
Perfect. So let's move to the last question over here that we have. That is, how can I make sure my marketing is successful?
This is a good question. And I would say that if you want to make sure your marketing is successful, in addition to all the things we've talked about today, when you start to market something, what you want to think about is what your goal is, right? What do I need to do? Is this to build awareness? Is this to generate a certain number of leads? Do I need to produce a certain amount of revenue? And really kind of narrow down and pick one goal to focus on, because that's going to make it easier to focus your marketing efforts, right? And to make sure that you are not wasting your time and your energy trying to do everything. It's going to create some clarity. So set a goal for that marketing effort. What am I doing? Building awareness, generating revenue, and then create your content to support that goal. So that way you don't have to try and say a bunch of things in one message. You can just focus on building awareness or trying to get somebody to purchase something and leading to a sale. So pick that goal, and that's going to make your marketing feel more successful. It's going to provide focus for you. And then your message is going to be clearer to your target audience. And that's likely going to lead to more people converting to sales from there.
Awesome, awesome. So that's pretty interesting. I believe that we have answered all the questions over here successfully. And when let me ask an additional question over here is like, how much do you charge to other people when you are charging about the marketing and all?
Well, I that is a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I have sort of three packages. So the way that I structured my offerings is really to try to accommodate, three different tiers. Somebody who might want me to do kind of everything for them, I'm probably going to charge around 2,500 US dollars, 2,500 US dollars. Someone who maybe just needs a little bit of advice, I have packages as small as 150 US dollars, where it's just, a couple of hours and we talk about it, and then you kind of go off on your own and do it. So I try to create a range so that way, people can be flexible and find what works for them.
Awesome, awesome. So I feel like the people who are out there, they are the marketing strategists or they're trying to be the marketing strategists. They can follow you and they can get your advice on it, and so that they get the benefited as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the Start Marketing podcast. It's every Thursday morning here in the US. So I believe that would be Thursday evening, late Thursday evening for you all.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much to my audience that you have been over here, you have been watching us, and you have been sharing the video with others, and you have been, subscribing to the channel. And it means a lot when you come over here again and again. You support us. You also try to learn over here from the expert guests. And thank you so much to you as well for being over here and adding a lot of value to my audience, right? So thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.